Well, hello everyone. My name is Shanita, and I am the founder of Future Focus Coaching and Wellness. And today, I want to share with you a presentation about how unresolved trauma is playing out in your lives. Silent wounds, loud lives. This is what we'll be discussing today, so I hope you have a nice beverage and a snack because we are going to take a deep dive into why do I act this way and what could possibly be going on in your body that's causing such a reaction. We all have trauma responses, but being aware, understanding, and giving yourself a gentle way forward is what we will be discussing today in our video. So I just want to say hello everyone. Thank you for being here, and I'm excited to share this information with you. And my biggest hope is that it will bring you out of whatever is attempting to hold you back. So let's go ahead and get started. You have ever, how can I put it? How many of you have ever overreacted to something? You just blew up verbally and you just surprised your own self. You didn't even quite know where it was coming from. Well, I was talking to a young lady the other day and she said she had one of these encounters. And that encounter gave her pause. She said it wasn't like me. And I was sharing with her that that sounds like a trauma response. So she said she went home and she slowed down. She took some time to herself to really analyze that whole encounter. And what she realized is that response had nothing to do with the moment, but more so to do with how she saw herself being treated as a child and as a young adult. She went through life feeling unheard and unseen. And for whatever reason in that moment, she just let it out. She cried out, "You will see me. You will hear me. I am not invisible." And today I share that example with you because I would like to know how many of you listening have ever had a situation where you feel unheard or unseen. That the things that happened to you long time ago, many, many years ago, still wreaks havoc in your adult life today. I know I, for one, have had instances like that. Those are called trauma responses for the most part. When you have a reaction to something that has nothing to do with that particular moment and everything to do with a trauma you experienced years before. So I want us all to be better aware, to have a more meaningful and compassionate understanding of just how silent wounds left unprocessed can have us living a very loud life that's counterproductive to our mission and to our hopes and dreams. And so the young lady that I talked about just a second ago, she is an example. She is an example of how unprocessed trauma can really begin to affect us emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I'm going to help us to have a gentle way forward from that and how we can rediscover better ways to handle those types of moments. And before I continue on, I just want to let you guys know that if you're not able to be loving and compassionate towards yourself in a journey such as coaching or therapy, you're just going to make it that much more difficult. So always see yourself through the eyes of compassion, especially when you are attempting to resolve major things like trauma that you've experienced. Always see yourself with compassion. Give yourself grace every single time. Remember, love is the thing that moves multitudes, that helps us to heal so much better and so much quicker. Okay? Now, here's our question for today. What pain are you carrying that doesn't belong to the present moment? What pain are you carrying that doesn't belong to the present moment? I want you to think about that for just a moment. Now, here's an example I want you guys to think about. Here's an individual that flinches anytime that people have loud voices or someone that raises their voice. There is an indicator in their body that says something's not right here. And then you think about, am I flinching because this person is an imminent threat to me in the moment? Or am I flinching because it reminds me of dangerous situations that I have been in the past? And if you are responding that it's a reminder of something from the past, this is just your body's way of saying, this is where we need to focus our attention and intention so that we can process it, heal it, and move forward from it the best way we can. Now, I want you to think about this question. What pain are you carrying that doesn't belong to the present moment? I want you to think about it, because there are invisible threads that connects us to the past experience and the current reaction. And this is going to help you to better distinguish between what belongs in the now and what is coming back from the past to wreak havoc in the now. So I want you to remember this as we continue to move forward. Now, like I said just a moment ago, trauma isn't only just catastrophic moments. That's bad enough, but it goes much deeper than most people realize. What I think people don't give an account for is how quiet the wounds can be. When you're not appropriately attending to those things that happen, you have this bad thing happen, that bad thing, no matter whether they're big or small. Let's just say, for the sake of conversation, they're all very small. But if you don't process it, it just gets piled one on top of the other. And guess where all of that is being stored? It's being stored in your mind and in your body. The body remembers. No matter how much you try to discount it or overlook it or push through it, push past it, the trauma is always going to show up loudly in our bodies. And while that may not be convenient or pleasant, I always want you to know that these are signals. That it's your body's way of saying, here's an area that we need to focus on, that we need to help heal. And most of us, rightfully so, we may get scared, or we may not want to deal with it, or we may try to push through it. But it's your body asking for attention. Iyanla Vanzant once said, pain says, pay attention inward now. And ever since I heard her say that, it's given me such pause to pay attention to what my internal guidance, what my magnificent body is sharing with me. So I want you to begin to look at how day to day, how your body is signaling to you, we need attention, we need help. Here is something that we can do to help us all feel better. Because what isn't healed is repeated. What isn't healed is repeated in us, through us, and around us. So I want you to begin to think about this. How has trauma that you've endured in your life repeated? How is it repeated in you? How has it affected your relationships? This is what I want us to begin to think about. So, at the end of the day, this is why healing the trauma matters the most. Because when you are dealing with something that has been traumatic, it begins to color your lens, how you see the world, how you see yourself, and how you see other people interacting with you. And more often than not, that lens that you have now because of this event, it has distorted how you see the world, how you see yourselves, and most importantly, how you interpret other people's actions towards you. And it can take time to be aware of this and to figure this all out. But more and more, you begin to, at some point, realize that you don't feel safe. No matter how loving things are with this partner, no matter how many times this partner has shown you over and over and over again that they love you and that they have your best interest at heart, that trauma that you've been dealing with, it won't allow you to believe it fully. You'll remain hypervigilant and you will stay in a cycle of insecurity. And this is part of the limitation of trauma, because it keeps you trapped in a cycle of fear and shame, and it disconnects you from fully receiving, fully experiencing what real intimacy is. It robs you of that joy. It doesn't allow you to have true connection within your own self, within your own skin. And so what humans do, what we do is we try to get that need met outside of us. We try to get that need met, that need of safety and security met in other things. Well, if I had $1 million, I'll feel safe. Or if I had the love of a dutiful and faithful partner, I would feel safe. If I had an amazing job, I'll feel safe. But what happens is when you get those things, you don't quite feel as safe as you thought you would. So, healing the trauma is not a sign of weakness. It's probably the most courageous thing that you can do for yourself. To help heal yourself. To say that this event or events no longer has free reign in my life. That now I'm going to step into my most powerful, my most compassionate and loving self and say, look, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I want and I deserve connection. And I'm ready to do what it takes to have that connection. This is why healing those traumas are so very important. Reclaiming your power is everything. When something that looked as if it was so overwhelming and you couldn't see your way through it, to now you stand so assured and victorious and you said, look, what happened to me was messed up, but I have better control of that now. I can't tell you how wonderful it's going to feel for you. So we talked earlier about having more understanding and awareness of just how unhealed trauma shows up in your daily life. We talked about the first one, the overreacting to small triggers. That one's kind of easier to see from an outside perspective. But I'm going to tell you about three other ones that most people may not connect. So I hope we make that connection today. So we're going to talk about relentless perfectionism. I gotta be better. I gotta do better. I can't tell you how many times that was preached into me. I gotta be 100 times better. I gotta do things on a miraculous level. And when I was younger, I owned that. That was my badge of honor. And for some crazy reason, there were so many moments where I had to do that. And it brought me joy until it didn't. Because that expectation to always be Superwoman, it begins to wear on your mind, body, and spirit. And the more dangerous part of that is that you begin to connect your worth to that. So what happens if you're not able to perform at Superwoman level? It can have devastating consequences for your mental. It's exhausting trying to be perfect while secretly on the inside knowing or feeling you can't be perfect. You're not perfect. And if people see me, they'll know that I'm not as amazing as I portray to be. That's torture on your mind and your spirit. Because one, yes, you are exceptional in your own way, but nobody deserves to have the burden of trying to be perfect. Nobody. We already know logically it's impossible. But we do it to ourselves because we haven't healed that part of ourselves. The next one, chronic people pleasing, being stuck in the perpetual state of the fawn response, saying yes to everyone and everything that drains you emotionally, physically, always violating your own boundaries, if you have them, making compromises with people, knowing those compromises betray you at a core level. And you do it because you're driven by fear. You want to belong. You want people to love you. You don't want to feel abandoned. And when you are in that chronic people-pleasing phase, you want more than anything to know that other people's needs are not as important as yours. You don't mean to say it that way, but you're teaching people that your needs don't matter. That whatever they want, whatever they need, you're there to do it no matter what. And if you're stuck in that fawn response, your body is never able to slow down and rest and recoup. Now, the emotional numbness. You're feeling overwhelmed. You're feeling in a sense of danger. But instead of addressing that, you shut down. How many of you are walking around today, right now, feeling emotionally numb and shut down? You don't feel pain. You don't feel joy. You are disconnected from anything that allows you to know what you're feeling. Because you don't have time to sit still. You've got to go. You've got to do. This is how unresolved trauma is showing up in your lives. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's a silent, wound and the body is signaling to you, over here, let's take care of this. Over here, we need your attention. So you want to make sure you are paying attention to those signals that the body is sending to you. Because ignoring the wound doesn't make it disappear. It makes it deeper, more intense. It takes an emotional toll on you. Sometimes it shows up as anxiety, sleeplessness, depression. My thoughts won't stop. I have racing thoughts. I overthink. I feel overwhelmed, overstimulated. But I don't know what's going on with me. Life is okay. It's because you have normalized. You have pushed through the chaos so long that now your body doesn't even see it as chaos anymore. You've normalized it. But I want to tell you that this has nothing to do with your character. These are not flaws. They're just symptoms. They're signs. They're signals that are trying to share with you, hey, we have some things we need to work through. Can we finally get this resolved and taken care of? Because as I just said, ignoring it makes it what? Deeper. Not disappear. Your body, I've shared with you before, your body is holding on to all this. It is the physical container for all these emotional things that have happened to you, for all these traumatic things that have happened to you, for all these good things that have happened to you. You constantly tired, you don't know why. You slept all night, but you woke up and you're still tired. I can't tell you how many people I work with that hold the tension in their shoulders and in their necks, their stomach, their back. These things are physical signs and symptoms that your body is saying, we need support. How can you help best support us? And relationships. When you find yourself repeating the same unhealthy dynamics, whether it's in a romantic relationship, a friendship, a work relationship, those are signs and signals that there is an area that you need to pay close attention to, because it's expressing something to you that's gone awry that needs to be handled. So more than anything, I want you all to know this isn't anything to be afraid of. This isn't anything to judge yourself about. It's just simply information for you to use to help you move forward. And when you take the judgment out of it and not see yourself as bad or good, right or wrong, that it just is, you'll feel much better about being diligent in your healing journey, because it's not about right or wrong. Now, I want you to keep in mind that I have just a simple healing framework that I want us to work from today. And if you know anything about this journey, you know healing is not a linear journey. It's not straight. You can go up, down, sideways, take several loops. But the important thing is that you're on a path that feels safe, that feels meaningful, and that you are willing to give yourself grace and compassion to take whatever detours is necessary. Because even if you feel like you've gone off the rails in your healing journey, you can still learn from that. You can still collect data from that. And you never know how that information will come later down the line to be of service to you. So be gentle with yourself, be easy with yourself, okay? So we want to make sure that we are aware. We talked about this already, right? You know what's going on now. You have a better idea of spotting it. And so now you've learned to notice in real time when you see wounds that are brought up, that are triggered in the moment. And this allows you to pause and gives you opportunity to choose a response rather than automatically going the hell off. This is a great place to be. You're aware. You know what could possibly be going on, right? You're understanding that trauma is trying to be resolved and released, and it's coming out this way. There's the recognition. And now that you recognize it and you get to choose your response instead of being emotional or reactive, you have taken the time to choose specific tools and interventions that gives you a sense of safety, that helps you to better balance what you're dealing with, and that ultimately allows you to feel empowered. Because now, when this triggering thing happens, you're not automatically responding to it in a negative way. You can take a deep breath, breathe, and say, oh, I remember this. Okay, this is what I can do in this situation instead. That's a powerful place to be in. And you can use things like breath work. You can use movement. And you most definitely need to have appropriate boundaries set. And I'm going to tell you right now, as an empath and highly sensitive person, when you set appropriate boundaries for yourself, be prepared to not only enforce them, but be prepared to reinforce them. Because you went from having very little boundaries and just being overly accommodating because you were in the people-pleasing phase. Now you're saying, no, I'm sorry, this doesn't work for me anymore, and I respectfully decline. Now, some people in your life, they're going to be like, okay, that's good. But there are going to be other people in your lives that's going to be upset that they no longer have unlimited access to you. And that's where the reinforcement of the boundaries come in. So I want you to be prepared for that. And just let you know that when it happens, it's nothing personal. It's like taking away the best thing they had in the world, which was you and your ability to say yes, no matter what. Now that's being tempered with more compassion for yourself. And they may not be excited about that. And that's okay. That's their burden to bear, not yours. So be on the lookout for that. And the last part of the healing framework is release. Consistency. The more you practice your healing, the more you practice those boundaries, that creates a cycle of change that's deeply rooted in your healing. See, you're letting go of what doesn't serve you anymore. You realize that when you were saying yes to everyone and everything, it didn't give you that sense of belonging that you were hoping for. What it did is it created a war inside of you that now you're having all these consequences you're having to deal with. And now you realize when you said no and you said it with power, oh, that was the best feeling in the world. You felt that all through your body. And now these healthier, happier patterns that you're dealing with, they're connecting you closer to that peace you're wanting. That's intoxicating. See, awareness opens the door. Recognition shows you the pattern. Response, that begins to build your bridge to where you want to go. And release, well, that sets you free. This is where you want to be. This is what you're working toward. And this is what you can have. I'm so excited for people that can see this and understand this. So here is what science tells us. Okay. Now that print on the screen is a little bit too small for me. Let me see. So let's put it this way. So modern neuroscience tells us that trauma, when it goes unaddressed, it begins to create brain patterns in our brain. And when it goes unresolved, your actions begin to mimic that and continue that, right? So when you, let's see. So that's why when certain situations happen, it feels like, where did it come from? And you're not quite sure how that happened. But your soul knows. Your soul knows that being more compassionate to yourself, being able to stop and say no, or take a deep breath, rest, being loving towards yourself. These are the things that will bring you out of this trauma response and give you the ability to make a different decision that's more impactful in a positive way in your life. Now, here are the tools that I want to share with us and how to get us from overreacting to, okay, I can choose a different response and have a better result. So this is a positive psychology tool that I like to use with my coaching clients, and that is a narrative reframing. And this helps the individual to step out of victim thinking to being the heroine or the hero in their own story. So what you do is you rewrite your story as one that has survived. You've used resilience and your growth rather than seeing yourself through the eyes of what happened to you. Now, this isn't about rewriting history and saying that the pain I endured doesn't matter or it wasn't as painful. You're taking all the truth of your story and you're rewriting it as someone that has overcome these significant challenges, the wisdom that you've gained along the way, and how you will use all that to move forward in life and overcome other challenges. So you write your story in the third person and you focus on the courage and the adaptability and the resourcefulness that you demonstrated during those difficult times. So we're looking at the strengths that you used to get you to a better place of safety, emotionally, mentally, and physically. So we're focusing on those strengths that you used. Now the next one is a compassionate letter writing. And this is when you write a letter to that younger self in you, but you do it with love and validation. It's almost as if you're guiding that younger self, giving them what you felt like they needed the most but didn't get to have. because you want your inner child to feel safe, heard, seen. And the best way to do that is to give that inner child a voice, to allow that young person inside of you to express how they were feeling. And you can choose a specific age or a specific memory, and you can write as your current self, your wiser self, in your higher knowledge, offering these things to your younger self, comfort and a higher perspective. But you're giving voice to that young person or that memory, and you're allowing that entity to express itself. That's very powerful. And the last thing I want you to think about doing is a safe place visualization. Now, for all my clients, I always ask them to find a place where they can be by themselves with themselves, where they won't be interrupted. And it's a turn to every day. It is your sanctuary. And when you get to this sanctuary, when you've created this beautiful place, I want you to begin to imagine you feeling safe. Whatever tools you need to help better regulate your nervous system and to bring you into a state of calm, use those tools. You get to choose, you get to decide. It could be a cup of tea, it could be a nice warm shawl around you or a blanket from bed, whatever. You get to choose this. You get to create this. And spend at least 5 minutes a day visualizing a place where you can use all of your senses and make it more visible and accessible. You do this when you're triggered or when you feel overwhelmed. Now, while I suggest that you have a physical place in your home where you can go to, I also want you to get used to when you're out and about in the world and you're feeling triggered and overwhelmed, you can begin to close your eyes and imagine yourself in that safe, comfortable place that helps you to calm down and better regulate your emotions. So these are 3 practices that are evidence-based tools that you can integrate into your daily lives that won't cost money, but they offer concrete ways to begin to shift your relationship past trauma and current triggers. Remember, your nervous system wants safety. And when you give your body, your mind, safety, that is when you can start your healing process. So being in a safe place and visualizing your sanctuary, real or imagined, knowing that there is a physical place on this earth where no one can hurt or harm you, is wonderful to start out with. And then as you become more adept in that practice, you can begin to visualize that place mentally, so you don't always have to be anchored to a physical space. Acknowledging your younger self, and then seeing yourself as this empowered person who has learned these lessons and you're guiding yourself through. These are wonderful and highly potent activities because everyone is going to go through something else in their lives, right? But now you're recording, you're writing down these blueprints that have helped you overcome things before, and you can use these tools again. So that's why I like these 3 practical tools for your healing journey. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to heal. Let me say that again. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to heal. So I want to ask you one last time, friends. What pain are you carrying that doesn't belong to the present moment? I hope hearing this question the second time around feels different in your body. I hope that it offers you more insight. Because now you have been given the practical tools to begin your meaningful healing journey. So I want you to take a deep breath and begin to consider what would change in your life if you no longer carried the weight of wounds that doesn't belong in this moment. What are the possibilities for your life? What could you reclaim that trauma and stress and fear have attempted to take away from you? What are you willing to do that'll give you safety within your body? That'll give you that first step toward the freedom that you certainly deserve. Are you willing to examine these spaces and places in your life? And when you do examine them, will you be kind enough to do it through the eyes of compassion, courage, and wisdom? These are important questions I want you to think about, friend. This journey to heal unresolved trauma, it's not easy. It is not easy at all. But as someone who has been on that journey for many, many years and is actively reaching back to help other people do the same, it is so worth it. And your body knows it's worth it, because that's why it's signaling to you, why it's calling out to you. So I want you to think about the question and how you can incorporate these simple tools and practices into your life today. Feel free to reach out, Shanita at IamFutureFocus.com, if you want to talk via email. Please subscribe to my Facebook, Instagram pages if you want more healing tools. Subscribe to our newsletter that comes out on the first day of every month. Find a way to stay rooted and connected, because you want to have people that can understand this big monumental thing you're trying to do. They can offer support and encouragement, because let me tell you, I'm very proud of you. This is not an easy thing, but boy is it worth it when you conquer this, and you can. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking your time to listen. I hope that this information helps you on your journey, and remember to love yourself and be kind to yourself. I hope you have a good one, and I'll see you soon, friends. May you be happy, and may you be well, and may love always find its way to you. Bye, friends.